next on the list, on the big vidui gadol, we say, Dibarnu dofri ve'lashon hara. We say to Hashem, we're doing Teshuva, for this that we spoke not the truth, and we spoke Lashon Hara. We did sins with our mouth, with our speech. As we know that the very great sin, over 15 times in the Torah, it says how the person is not allowed to speak Lashon Hara, speak evil, slander, say bad things about another person, or even to tell another person, also to be, the Torah says, do not be a peddler, do not give other people, tell other people, oh, you heard what so-and-so said about you. A person cannot even pass over information that somebody else said negative about somebody else to cause mahloket, to cause, as they say, fighting between these two people. So therefore, this is a sort of speech that is very forbidden from the Torah. And there's curses in the Torah. Arur, there's curses in the Torah against people who speak Lashon Hara like this. And also, the Gemara Masechet Sanhedrin says that a person can lose his whole chelek olam haba. He can lose his whole portion of world to come if he becomes a habitual Lashon Hara speaker. He always speaks Lashon Hara, and he doesn't think it's wrong. He can lose his whole chelek olam haba just because of this one sin. So therefore, a person has to be very careful when it comes to Lashon Hara. But also, the Torah commands us not to do onat varim, lo tonu ish et amito. A person is not allowed to cause another person to suffer with his words. He cannot say insulting things to another person or call him nicknames. A guy who is a little bit heavier, he says, Zubarabote, your teeth work very good, you know how to eat, these kind of things. People think it's okay, it's not a big deal, it's a joke, but it hurts people. That's a sur from the Torah to do that, to go and put people down by insulting them. Or a person says, oh, you're religious, you forgot how you used to be, I remember how you used to be before you went to Teshuva, oh, it's because you're religious now. A person speaks like this to another person, makes them feel bad. Or a person reminds him of his sins in the past, or a person, he goes and, he calls them nicknames, or all these ways of speaking to another person, putting them down, is a surah from the Torah. The Gemara Masechet Bava says, to go and to hurt somebody's body, to hurt somebody's money, to steal from him, that's even better, it's better than doing this. Insulting somebody, you can never pay back the pain that you cause. To go and insult somebody, money you can pay back, but this you can't pay back. How are you going to pay it back? So therefore, especially by the wives, husbands think that it's okay, I can tell my wife whatever I want, whenever I want. And she needs to eat everything. Quiet. I can insult her, put her down, make her cry, and that's it. She's not allowed to tell me anything. And that's also a surah. The Gemara Masechet Bava says, the person has to be more careful with his wife, because when she cries, the Gemara says, whenever somebody cries or somebody gets upset that you told them something not nice, and they cried right away to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and maybe, God forbid, they curse you, or God forbid, they say that Hashem should hurt you, Chaz v'shalom, the Gemara says Hashem hears him right away. Hashem answers him right away, because the person is so hurt, and Hashem looks out for these people who get put down. So the person has to be very careful not to be that person who puts the other person down, especially by the wives. Therefore, a person has to know. The Rava says you have to honor your wife in order to the parnasah of a person is dependent on how he honors his wife. So therefore, a person has to fight his ga'ava, and he has to really be careful with the words he uses. Also, not to speak lies. The Torah says, never does the Torah say stay away from something, far away, except for lying. Midvar sheker tirchak. A person has to stay far away from lying, and not, especially in business, especially even if it says in regular conversation, you shouldn't mention lies. The person shouldn't be in the habit of being a liar. Also, being in the habit of being a liar is also a person can lose a chelek olam haba for this, that he's a habit of a liar. So for a person, he can think about all these sins that a person can do with his mouth. Has to be careful. Also, the Machzor Vitri holds that it's asur d'oraita also to curse. People a lot of times they matiris, they go and they curse. They say in Russian, in English, in Hebrew. It's as if it's part of their conversation already. It's very normal. You always say it. It's fine. Everybody understands that. But no, a person has to know a curse word is a curse word. The Gemara Masechet Shabbat says that Chaz v'shalom people become widows, that people's husbands die, or Chaz v'shalom people's fathers die young because of the nivul peh, the dirty mouth that people have sometimes. Or the Gemara says also, even if you had 70 years of good written for you, the Gemara Masechet says it will flip Chaz v'shalom for bad, for negative. Why? Because of what a person says out of his mouth. The Zohar says, then not just you have to be careful not to eat non-kosher. You have to be careful that you speak kosher also. And whenever you say a curse word, it's as if you ate telefoi also. So if a person has to be very careful not to say curse words, or to hear people say curse words and think it's okay. No, tell them, listen, Nima Teres, please, excuse me, you do not speak like this. That we don't speak like this. That's a sur. So a person has to know that Having curse words in your vocabulary is also something a person has to do Teshuva for. Especially in Rosh Hashanah, when we come and use our mouth to go and speak to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Yeshua Yochai said, if it was up to me, we should have 2 mouths. One for everything else, and one for tefillah and mitzvot and for Torah. Because it's very difficult to use the same vessel. Now that we have the same mouth to use for both, we have to be very careful that we don't want to serve HaKadosh Baruch Hu, our beautiful prayers to Him, on a dirty plate that's not clean. So, Chas v'shalom, we shouldn't use our mouths to do any of these sins. There's one